Estrogen Network presents Afternoon Yak.
Man.
Canceled.
It's a clip from The Simpsons. I forget which season, but it was in my mind as we were watching Men.
Boo! Hello, everybody, to another episode of Half a Clue Movie Review. On today's episode, we are going to talk about Men, the newest directorial effort from Alex Garland, who has been known to bring you films such as Ex Machina, Annihilation, and recently the Devs miniseries.
It is known.
Yes. And also in the past known for writing such works as 28 Days Later, The Beach, the novel, which Danny Boyle made a weird adaptation of, Sunshine, Never Let Me Go, and the eponymous Dread, which he secretly directed apparently, but just without credit. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Have you seen Dread? I'm
awesome.
talking to you, the listener. Have you seen Dread? Have you seen it? You should go watch it. Watch Dread.
Let's make Dread 2 happen, which apparently might happen.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. I don't know. Again, if you have not seen Dread, it's like basically it's like The Raid, but with Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
and
much.
like amazing effects and
Slow motion and everything.
awesome slow motion. The use of the slow-mo drug that kind of just like enhances everything is pretty dope. Anyway, go watch Dread.
I want to see his version of Dead Dread.
Dead Dread.
Or what's it called? I think in the Dread comic books there's like they're judges that are like kind of like Necronomicon versions of judges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they're out or something like that. Something happened in like certain part of like a nuclear wasteland.
Yeah.
But then they still exact justice in their own weird way.
Well, that does sound pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I'm not familiar with their comics at all, but like that sound like just from the movie, I'd be very enticed to see where they could go with it. But it's been like over like 10 years.
I know. Carl Urban. Okay. Gosh, this movie, fuck.
Yeah. We still talking about Dread?
Yeah. I almost want to, but
No.
not like I said. So this movie, Men, it's what's it called? After the recent death or suicide of her husband, Harper Marlowe goes to a small city of, I think, like Coston.
Village
of Coston, right? Which is apparently, I was trying looking it up. Apparently, it's fictional.
I'd hope so.
Yeah. But it, and she's trying to recover from her grief and just living in this little house rented. Her landlord is Jeffrey, played by Rory Kinnear, and also every other guy is played by Rory Kinnear,
except for her husband.
Yeah, except for her husband. Or is he? Oh, I put Michael Stuhlbarg. It's like it's not. What's it called? You know what? It's not Michael Stuhlbarg. The actual guy who is playing her husband
is drum roll, please.
Do we have a
drum roll in this thing?
Nope, that's not. It's Papa. Yeah, Isidue.
His name is Papa?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a pretty cool name, actually. And
what?
Dude, what a badass name.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, he plays her husband, who he also does a great job too. By the way, there's like 3 major performances, and then also her friend, who mostly is just there like on a screen, so she doesn't have too much to do, honestly. But
no one else actually has too much to do, even the husband.
Yeah, I mean, he has his like big emotional scenes. Yeah, he's kind of there for like all of the loudest parts. Pretty much where him and Harper are like arguing and everything, and there's a lot of emotional stuff there. And I don't know, I just want to start off by talking about the performances.
Yeah.
I think Jessie Buckley does a fantastic job of like seeming to add a lot of like nuance to the character, even though she doesn't really seem to do like she's not like she's really diving too much into this, like into I don't know, like I guess the full range of what was capable of the character. I don't know.
Really, I think she did like not even this. I think this character was fleshed out as much as it could have been. Yeah, I think in this one, and like I guess that you could have like went into, but that would have been arbitrary, like going into her childhood and all that stuff and expository. And I think it was like just her, like it made it very singular, just her dealing with like that moment of grief and stuff.
Yeah.
And she has an interesting screaming face. I'll give her that, Jessie Buckley. Yeah.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
No, she's great. I think like delving into somebody who's what's called who it's the same thing. It's similar in a way to her characters from like The Lost Daughter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's recently from Adobe Creative Cloud, who just made that sound saying, "Go join." I know, Adobe, fuck off. And like how some she plays exasperation really well. Yeah.
I think I also liked a lot like of her more like subtle moments too. Like I liked where she at one point when she's talking to her friend on the phone, and then she's explaining that like Jeffrey had asked her about her husband, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." She's like, "No, it's fine. It's just this is just something I'm going to be dealing with for the rest of my life, and I just have to get used to it." And then she has like a tiny little facial twitch that just, I don't know, it just added a lot to it, where she's like, you feel like she's really just realizing this as she's saying it out loud for the first time. Like she's actually like vocalized it, and it's like, like that hurts. Like, what I mean? It's, I don't know, that's great. So I think a lot of those moments from her, because they're kind of really sprinkled throughout, which I enjoyed. Yeah.
Right. I did like that part. And I think one of my favorite moments from her character, also with the writing too, I think, is when she lied to Jeffrey, where she kind of had a straight face, like smiling with like this, like a false, with a kind of like a falsity where like, "Oh, I can't play piano." Right?
Yeah.
And then just so she could end the conversation.
Yeah.
And then later she could play the piano actually pretty well.
Yeah.
And that worked.
Which I get it.
Yeah, I know, especially with Jeffrey. Big fucking teeth. And just like, you mustn't do that.
Maybe Mrs. Marlowe. No?
So yeah, she was really good. I think it's weird. And we were just talking about it yesterday, how like each one of his films have is generally has like a female protagonist, and usually sometimes they are the central protagonist.
Yeah.
With Ex Machina, it was the Alicia Vikander character, the android
Eve, I think.
Yeah, Eve, yeah. And then you have Annihilation, Natalie Portman's character, and then Devs, which is his miniseries, which I double checked. Yeah, he wrote and directed every single episode, which crazy for him.
Wow,
really busy, which makes me actually more impressive that this film came out like not too long after the series.
Oh wow. Even Dredd, like arguably the main character isn't actually Judge Dredd. It's the
Olivia Kirby character. Yeah. Psychic. Or not psychic. She's a telepath, right? Or
yeah, I think she can like see what people's see the images in people's minds or whatever. But we're not here to talk about Dredd.
I know. You're getting distracted. We all want Dredd too. And Des, by the way, and gosh, I didn't even know that. What was her name? Sonoya Mizuno, the Japanese android in Ex Machina.
Yeah,
she was the main character of Devs, and she's also in this movie.
Who is she?
She's when she called 911, the police operator.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, so she's like a secret weapon.
Yeah, she's just like he's using him, except Annihilation, or maybe she's in Annihilation.
She was the bear.
Yeah, she was the bear. She maybe who never know. She has like uncredited things. So regarding that, like it is interesting that he chooses to have that be the central part of his films. And even with 28 Days Later, like the people who actually were doing stuff and helped with and actually like helped propel our main character, like Jim in 28 Days Later, to become who he is, was the Naomi Harris character.
Oh
yeah. So that's always been a big thing into him. Okay, so we're talking about his works
leading up to this one.
What have you seen? What's your history with his works, and what are your thoughts on like basically his filmography?
I had seen his two other films, Ex Machina and Annihilation, and I'm not entirely sure, but I think Ex Machina was the film that put like A24 on the map for me. Like I saw the opening credits for A24, I was like, "What's that? Oh, that's interesting." And then Ex Machina, I watched Ex Machina, and I was just like, "Whoa!" Like that was awesome. And then whatever the next film was, it was like from the production company that brought you Ex Machina, and it's like, "Oh hell yeah!" Like I'm into this. Like I feel like there's probably something else precursor, but that's the one where I think took notice of the company itself. So other than just like I think propelling like this production company further, like I've been a big fan of both of his works prior to this. So I was really excited. I loved Annihilation. I think maybe even a little more than Ex Machina, which
I agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know. I loved Ex Machina, especially as the first feature,
yeah.
and the budget was like ridiculously low.
Yeah, you can
And-
tell it was very, like, it's a very tight film. It's very like
Yeah.
done on a small budget. Yeah,
And it beat Star Wars: The Force Awakens for best visual effects in the Oscars, which is crazy. Yeah.
I would say
Well deserved.
yeah, very well deserved. Because again, the amount of the budget they had for it and how seamless it all looks,
was
like
insane.
it's just boom, it's tight, well done.
And I think oh, you know what? I think The Witch was before that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
makes
2014,
sense.
right? I think. Yeah. That was A24. Yeah, I don't know. Those were the early days of A24. I was like, I'm excited for every single release. I mean, I'm still kind of am for A24, but not as
Yeah.
much. A little oversaturated.
Yeah, there's just it's a lot, which is like suffering from success.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, I mean, this
yeah.
year they've been killing it with this one and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty good. And Annihilation for me, I think Annihilation for me is still my favorite of his directorial efforts. Just because like that was like I felt like that was him with more tools and everything to express his vision, and basically he had more. I mean, the first one he had creative freedom to do what he did, but he didn't have the financial freedom.
yeah.
But in Annihilation, it did feel like okay, now he could fully expand to it like on a wider scope. And and it still worked on a story level to I think his writing, except that one scene in Annihilation, which just sucks because that was like the only thing that prevents me from saying it's like a near perfect film. The scene with Natalie Portman's like the affair with the professor,
Yeah.
and he's like, "You're only having this affair because of ABC themes and ABC character reasons," and I'm just like, okay. I mean, he does
Yeah.
that. He does that actually quite a bit, but yeah.
But there's so much else going on.
That's
film.
great. Yeah.
Yeah,
This is which makes that scene stand out way more.
Well,
But yeah, I love this stuff. So I was really excited for this one and seeing it, and also seeing the fact while watching, I realized, oh, so it's not a sci-fi film because I try to stay away from as much knowledge as possible.
yeah.
Like I thought, like it was gonna be men, and like men was gonna be a result of some type of metaphorical science. What's it called? Science allegory or whatever.
Yeah.
And then watching, I was like, no, it's a folk horror film. Okay, cool. That's cool. And okay, so
I
one,
didn't really get that vibe from the trailer, honestly. Just because I feel like in the trailer they didn't show her like really reacting at all to the fact that there was like everyone was kind of seemingly like the same dude.
yeah,
So I was like, I don't know. So I didn't expect it to be sci-fi, and it wasn't, which is fine. It's a departure again, but I always love when directors kind of use their strengths from like a previous genre or something that they've made and they carried into something new. And I think he went from sci-fi to folk horror, and I think it was pretty good.
yeah, and then definitely
pretty
most
good.
art house of vagina exploding way. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh, in my theaters. Okay, let me ask you this: how many people walked out in your theaters? I had like I think 7 people, and 2 people walked out.
No one walked out of our theater.
No,
Thankfully, I guess. Yeah.
Was there any audible like what the fuck? It's just like
No, it was fairly silent, but I guess it's been out for a minute, so like maybe everyone who was
no.
there on word of mouth or something. Everyone was like, "You want to watch something crazy? Go watch Men or whatever." I don't know.
So they all expect at this point. You know what I mean? It's like
Who
there's-
knows? Yeah.
I mean, they've seen oh gosh, what's it called? Robert Pattinson have sex with a mermaid in Lighthouse, so they probably were like, okay, we'll expect. What other crazy shit do you have?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that one meme of like, from It's Always Sunny where like the McFoyles are like making out with each other. And then one of them's like smiling and nodding, and it's like A24 weird shit, and then A24 fans like smile and nodding, and just like yeah.
It was it was interesting to have him go into art house folk horror. It threw me in a bit of a loop. What's it called? Like watching it and having no sci-fi elements, which is nice, which is cool. It's him expanding and stretching his directorial muscles and writing creative muscles a bit. And how it compares to other like folk horror films, like The Wicker Man and stuff like that. And just recently, Midsummer.
Mm-hmm.
I would say definitely this is the most is a lot more surrealistic than the other ones, and more abstract.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a bit more of like a Wicker Man vibe, I think, than like Midsummer.
Yeah.
Funny enough, like I think just like this whole town's crazy, but like I don't know, like it got like a little bit of a vibe because that one also is a little bit like more. It's a little surrealist at times,
Yeah.
you know. Like there's like dancing sequences and everything, and it's like there's kind of just like it's a whole fertility ritual thing, which seems to be just it's kind of a common theme a lot in these like folk horror films. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It was very interesting. I think it was a good choice. I think to do like this, and I like that also they didn't just they pulled from a wide array of different kinds of like mythologies and like symbolism from different kinds of like cultures and religions, from like anywhere to like native like British pagan religions to like
Catholicism and stuff, right?
or well like the
Are you talking about
English church, because technically they're not Catholic, I don't think.
Oh,
so.
right. It's a Protestant, right? Protestant.
Protestants.
Oh no, no. It's like since the Reformation or something like that.
Yeah. Since like the Church of England stuff, because that's why they have like vicars and
Yeah.
everything. It's like, but it's like, I mean, I don't know, not to offend, whatever. It's it's like they're very similar. And then the what's it called? And also.
Oh wait, no, but then no, because she's from Ireland, so what's it called? There was some Catholic. She did go to the English Church Reformation, right? Because I know Ireland is Catholic, but English is more Reformist Christians.
Yeah,
and there's like that weird battle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had to do some research because after I was watching Downton Abbey recently, and there was like characters going about that. Stay tuned for that. You know. What I mean?
Yeah, if you're into Downton Abbey, we're your spot. You know. And then like I was gonna say the final one. Oh, Greek mythology. You're pulling a lot of like Greek imagery and like the straight up name dropping like Agamemnon. Stuff like that. So yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, but like again, they do a decent way of like combining a lot of those themes. Like I thought, just from like the trailer and like a lot of the promotional art and everything else leading up to it, with like the apple tree and like the A24 logo
snake
being made by the apples and the snake and everything. I thought it was gonna lean heavier into like the Adam and Eve kind of like storyline, or using that as like a basis for it, but it kind of steps more like beyond that, and which I appreciated because it just it's a broader scope and it doesn't feel as on the nose. Although a lot of this is like, I don't know, feels to me at least pretty on the nose.
Yeah, I think what's it called? It's gonna be interesting. We'll get into it later when we get to speculation. Because comments from Alex Garland and stuff like that kind of like threw me in the loop. I do like what's it called. I mean, because very much he is like very well read and. As a scholar, he's probably a scholar first before. I mean, maybe no, I wouldn't say a scholar first before creative, and you could definitely feel that into his films, where everything does feel like heavily referenced and everything, but you can still enjoy it without the understanding the references, but enhances your viewing when you see how that ties to a certain theme or his message or whatever.
Yeah, everything from art history to like sci-fi to like like novels,
religion.
Yeah, it's great, and that's like. Even music, because his use of music also, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it more later, but like fantastic in all of his films, and this one like just as good as any of the other ones.
How do you feel like this compares to his other films, both on a personal preference level and just like what comparative qualities does it have? And like you see recurring things, and we talked about the fact that female central protagonists and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's like Ex Machina. Annihilation. I still feel like that's kind of his peak so far, where he had the best balance of like on a technical skill level, and also like on a story, like in a story sense, and also like just the characters and everything just felt a little bit more, just interesting and engaging to me, and just like, and it also kept like a lot of that, like surreal kind of like quality to it that I really dug. But like I don't know, it kind of tied it all up into like a really good knot. Men, on the other hand, it was like I had some issues with it. I liked it for the most part. I just feel like it was his least subtle and least nuanced approach to a subject, unlike the other ones, because I feel like the other ones, although they have like central themes, they really are like they kind of branch beyond that. This one, not as much. I felt like it was mostly like focused on one theme and it didn't dive too deeply into it as much as I think that they were, like unlike his other films where kind of like with Annihilation, for example, the theme of like self-destruction and everything is kind of like really explored through all these different characters and kind of and it could have been done more like on any of like the other roles, but like Natalie Portman's character in particular, you kind of see this like, cycle of, she self-destructs and then kind of the whole recreation and how that has to do with like the alien and how like, it's life and it's like rebirthing into something else, like something new.
Yeah. Or like the cancer of the Jennifer character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or even just how the alien comment was just like a tumor and just spreading along.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's a different form of life and it's not trying to destroy anything. It's kind of just making something new and whatever. And it's like, and it's a beautiful film. Like I think that's still his most beautiful film. Men was cool, and I liked a lot of the use of color and everything. Particularly, like there's a color palette that seems to be like balancing red and green against each other, which goes a lot into the symbolism. But it's just like I don't know it, and I understand it's like a lower budget film and everything else, but like it lacked a lot of like the splendor. I think is what Annihilation brought, where like you're just kind of like whoa, just kind of blown away by a lot of like the visuals, like from like the moss, like that like man that's like kind of like dissolved against the pool, in high school or whatever, and like the people and like the different animals, or even like the terrifyingness of like the bear human hybrid thing.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, I do get that, but I mean that concept just like lends itself more to more like more visual, like more grotesque, but beautiful imagery like that.
Yeah.
And also the budget for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's but also like the scope of it just demands that type of imagery too. But this one I think but I think he taps into a different part of his visual palette that he doesn't do before, right? With like it's like how to like what's it called, make striking minimalistic pictures and stuff. Like he used a lot more. I mean, he had wide shots in Annihilation particularly, but in this one it's like it's because he's tapping into more of his folk horror, what's part of his brain, if that I guess it existed always.
Yeah.
But whether it's his use of lighting is I think a lot more dynamic and in this one I think than the other ones. The other ones were probably a little bit more had a like a even with Devs has like a more like a milky quality to it and stuff. And in a good way, like it's almost looks like dreamlike, and especially or like the bloom effects of the lights of Annihilation.
That is what it sounds like.
But in this one, it was like a lot more striking. Like the shadows were like a lot harsher, right? And and then he uses them for like sometimes just like either dramatic effect or even story effects, like whether it's like the lights, flicking on and off, and the different men were coming, or just how he's having like the lights go around the Green Man and the Sheila Nagig symbols.
Yeah. Sheila Nagig?
That's apparently that's the one with the vulva.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like looking, and that's apparently like that's a big thing in Ireland, apparently.
Yeah, it's
like that
old
symbol.
Celtic cultures, I want to say.
Yeah, it's either what's it called? And when we get into it, I'll like explain, like we'll talk about that more. So
interesting. Yeah, I feel like he pulled a lot of that, like he set a lot of himself up. Or you can see like earlier examples of that in like Ex Machina, where he is like in like a very small setting, and there's not as many of those like wide expanding shots, except like when they're outside, like kind of arriving. But once they're inside, what's it called, like Oscar Isaac's like home, it's like everything's kind of like stripped down, minimalist, and then lighting is kind of what like does a lot of the heavy lifting in that.
Yeah.
So it's a similar, I think, feeling, but he kind of like took that and put it like in more of like an outdoor setting. So I think it's interesting. Like another one of those shots that I guess particularly like just loved is when she's like standing at the head of the tunnel. Yeah. And as like the camera's subtly pushing in and you see like the darkness just completely engulfing her and everything. That was awesome.
Great. It was just, I think like in a weird way, I think this was like his, well, at least this film, I felt like his composition and his framing was the best. Like not saying it was bad before. I think with Ex Machina, I think it was good, but it was like okay, like it's I felt like not like a lot to be desired, like, but that was his first effort, so I give him a lot of slack for that. But I definitely felt like there could have been more creativity in that one, but also could have been that with the budget. But this one, like with the framing, whether it was like the tunnel we're talking about, the way he used the camera, or whether even just a wide shot where he placed the naked homeless guy or naked Rory Kinnear.
Yeah.
and
It's the Green Man.
and just like like, or when she's playing the piano, they had a like slightly elevated position, almost as if it was like has like a kind of purveyor look to it. Like it definitely felt like he just had a better, from his experience, which is should be the case, like has a better understanding of like camera position, like framing and stuff like that to tell like better what's it called, to better advocate whatever he's trying to say.
I would say I felt like there's a lot more like steady cam shots, or at least shots where like the camera was kind of gliding around, and I mean, it's not just Sam Raimi or like Stanley Kubrick who did shit like that, but I think it's that same sense that it's trying to capture of like kind of being followed, kind of seeing like because it seemed like it was a lot, especially when she's like running away or she's like moving through areas, and I think part of that is just like necessity for like how you have to the terrain that they're I guess filming in and everything, but it adds a lot to the to the sense, like the feeling, the emotion,
and the helplessness of her just like feeling trapped.
It's well done. Like another thing too, like it's just like they managed to capture that kind of like scary claustrophobicness of like her being like in the woods by herself as she's being chased by the homeless dude, but then like the way they captured it again, where she's just like out in the open field, broad daylight, and it's like, oh, you're in a safe space. It's like, nope. It's like, there it is. And it's just immediately still like, ooh, it still feels like very, very tense. And when he first starts breaking her home, it's like in the middle of broad daylight. So again, still adds that extra sense of like dread and fear. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the men character. Particularly, like, like both her husband, James Marlowe, and everybody played by Rory Kinnear and like what they might represent. Let's start off with James Marlowe. That's an interesting relationship with her and Harper. And it almost, I think, like, it almost makes to be curious, but I guess like having purposely left out, like just left more to speculation in my mind and probably added to my interest and what could have happened. But yeah, like the fact is that he seems to be he's like he's a husband that demands a lot of love and attention from his wife, who just doesn't want to give it, and almost trying to forcefully giving it and trying to forcibly get that from her, and all the way we could see at the end where he's like, I just want love, but without much of like I said, without much agency on her part.
Yeah, he's like forcing his emotions or just everything on her, kind of, He's literally holding her like, hostage at a certain point with just like, if he saying something like, if you leave me, I'll kill myself, which unfortunately is the thing that happens. It's like it's like that's it's like you can't just put that on somebody and like whatever and hold them responsible, because they're not responsible. It's yours, your actions and your choice. But I love how they have that kind of like ambiguousness of like, whether he fell off the upper story balcony or slipped. Like, which one was it? Like, did he actually do it, or was it on purpose, or was it not? And it seems like it probably was likely on purpose, but
just his face as
subtlety
going
enough.
down.
It's his face going down, and I love that it does leave that question there, because unfortunately that is a big reality for a lot of people who face a situation similar to this, and it's like he's it's like it's he's basically, the whole time that they're arguing and everything, he's constantly just kind of like he sees himself as like the victim, and he's very clearly stating like, you can't act like you're hurt about this, like you can't say like, you can't say stop or whatever, or like, because it's like, I'm the victim here, that you're doing this to me, like you're basically, your emotions in this situation are not valid. Like he's not even bothering to actually listen to what she's trying to say, and he's just only saying like, no, you have to listen to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm hurt, and that's all that matters, pretty much. And it's like, and fuck whatever it is, doesn't even explain why.
He literally shuts her down by punching her in her face.
Denies her agency, and then also decks her, and then she's understandably upset, and then kicks him out, and then that leads to his suicide, which is why later when they meet the vicar, and he tries to flip it all on her and put it on her, like saying some pretty twisted shit to say to somebody.
It's
in
okay.
Situation.
It's okay. It happens sometime. I mean, all of them represents like a different part of either toxic masculinity, or he's exploring a different part of the male gaze or the male ear, in each one, or how males end their relationship to women.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Jeffrey with like the knight in shining armor, but it being hypocritical at the end.
He's like a white knight, like nice guy kind of thing. But yeah, he's
Like the
basically
male archetypes that he's trying to deconstruct. Yeah.
exactly. Like I felt like, I mean, this is my interpretation. I think that like I think pretty much all of the different men in this small town. There's only like a handful, really. Like they all just at the end they literally like are birthed into each other, and then they become James at the end. So I feel like that's his way of expressing and showing that like basically all these different men were kind of different aspects of James in particular. I mean, I think of course, like, men in general, like in a broader sense, of course, these are like all of like the worst toxic traits of men in one thing. I don't say that all men are like this. I don't think that's what he was trying to say at all. But just saying that this is something that does prevail our society and people, and unfortunately, that there are dudes who really do think this way, and it's really fucked up and sad. But like, yeah, someone like Jeffrey, who's basically like, he's
a knight in shining armor archetype.
Yeah,
but then like, but his helpfulness is itself like somewhat toxic because it's taking away her choice or agency in terms of what she wants to do and stuff.
Exactly. She's like, let me help you bring the bags in, and he's like, no. It's like, no, of course not. No. It's like he's like acting like basically like saying like he feels that she needs help, and he's going to give her help regardless of what she says, which is not what you're supposed to do. If she says like, let me help with the bags, let her help with the bags. Like, that's not a big deal. And even though he's clearly like struggling and trying to do more than he's capable of, and it's like seems like if anything it builds like that kind of quiet resentment, which is not okay. And then at the end, even at the bar where he's like denying her pay, and even though she's like insisting like, I want to be able to pay for my own drink, and he has to go around her, bypass her literally what she's vocalizing and saying that she wants, and is trying to tells the bartender not to accept her money,
and that's when she gives up.
Yeah. And then there's characters like
the vicar who is whether that it's like sexual repression or and like is a lot of times
super
like
sexual repressed.
A lot of times it's the like male authority figures or religious figures particularly that enable these kind of toxic masculine traits by just like whether it's confessions or stuff, and like in history where it's just like it's okay that you did this because of A, B, and C things that were established in what like what they view as a text, or just like what they view or trying to just appease. Yeah. And in this case,
it's like he's basically, he reminds me of like Claude Frodo from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
Where basically he's like so turned on by Esmeralda that he gets pissed off and decides to burn her alive because like he's like, how dare you tempt me, witch? Like, how dare you put these impure thoughts into... So he's putting his own thoughts and feelings and desires and then blaming her for them, even though she's not really doing anything fault or anything outside of her own. Like, she's just like, he's just basically projecting that onto her and like blaming her for them, which is the thing. Like, not even like not necessarily just incel dudes, but like like a dude, like sometimes dudes get mad. They're like, "Why are you making me horny?"
and he acts upon it too. It was just like,
and like one of the most uncomfortable scenes in the whole film when he's basically finally corners her in the bathroom and then like is holding her up against her and literally just like probably gonna like assault her or is in the middle of assaulting her. And and it's extremely uncomfortable. So he's and then also he's basically like the old school kind of like classic toxic traits of like, well, if he hit you, like you drove him to this.
Yeah, like how did you do that? It's always your fault instead of the guy's fault. Yeah. And then there's a child who sees her literally as like a plaything. Like she exists to mainly be her source of enjoyment or stuff like that.
Yeah. Which. Yeah, it's another part. Obviously, these are all going to be different aspects of the toxic traits, but
just like Annihilation, how each of the main female characters represent different types of self-destruction.
Yeah.
I mean, give this guy a little more credit,
Yeah, no, I do. I just like I think it was just a little more nuanced. I think in like Annihilation, it left a lot more open to interpretation. I think than this.
I think the imagery was a little more nuanced, but I think like the actual writing is like. I mean, he's always been kind of blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, literally, you had Tessa Thompson like describing her like self mutilation on his arms and just like how that ties. And she's also was like a thematic talk piece. but it
Yeah.
worked for that tone and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like he should join Westworld. The writing team. Actually, he would improve Westworld. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
And we have the homeless man, which I've heard some theories that the homeless man is actually like just a personification of the Green Man and Sheila and the Gig combined. That like the Sheila and the Gig part is like his bottom half where he actually has a vagina.
Yeah, so he has like both. Yeah, both parts.
And then the Green Man is what's it called? Who, which we'll get to, but like a symbol of rebirth or whatever. And he literally, oh my god, like actually that part was a pretty nice imagery when he was like stabbing the leaves in his face.
Yeah,
and
that was. There's a lot of disturbing imagery in this. There's a few times where I'm squinting and like, oh god, oh no.
It's like as Uriel and my friend Uriel and me were like, yes, and we're taking out our belts and like, yeah, I'm just kidding. That's
what the fuck is that?
Where's
that going?
And the cop, it obviously represents the non-responsive male authority figure.
Yeah,
that, who dismisses the concerns.
Exactly, just immediately like condescends to her and like just puts down her thoughts. She's like, no, I'm serious, like this is happening, this is like not okay or whatever. And he's just like, yeah, sure, whatever, just like immediately just like super condescending to her. Boo.
And then there's the men at the bar who are literally like the embodiment of the male gaze. That's all they do, stare.
Yeah. They stare and give off super rapey vibes, and then like eventually just
one
like,
of them goes just runs.
Yeah, just straight up like that quiet like anger, like dudes that are just like creepy dudes that if I don't know if I was a woman and I was around those dudes, you see them looking at you, it's like, I'm gonna go someplace else. Like, no thanks. Yeah. So
let's also talk about the symbolism, like particularly the Green Man and Sheila and the Gig. And the Green Man is the one with like, for those who watch, by the way, spoiler alert, I mean, it's for every one of our thing. It's if you've listened to this entire thing, you either don't give a fuck or or you have seen the film. The Green Man, which in Ireland or in England it's seen in a lot of scholar and ecclesiastical buildings, and it's usually seen as a symbol of rebirth. It's like usually a picture of, sometimes it's like just like a mouth and like eyes and nose, or like nose
made
holes,
of leaves and stuff.
Yeah, it's sometimes made of leaves and sometimes it's just lines. But this one they went with the leaf scenes. I think it was way more effective.
Yeah.
And it's usually seen as a symbol of rebirth, a cycle of new growth that happens like every spring, right? Like hunts like fertility and shit
nature
like
and everything.
And sometimes to be seen as a keeper of the forest in the woods. And also for this was like somehow one of the few things from like the old European pagan beliefs that still was kept around into like more ecclesiastical buildings and of the Christian religion.
Yeah, and it's like integrated into it. I think the good example of that is the Green Knight, of course. It's probably the most famous example of where like it's kind of folded into like different mythologies and everything. And this one, in the sense of like how it pertains to like nature always like it's like it is beautiful and whatever, but also does represent like death and like basically like green is like a highly debated color in terms of like historical meaning and everything else, especially like around this time period, because we have to put ourselves into those contexts. And basically the idea of being outside and being in nature is not like what we think of today. It's like, yeah, I'm hiking, it's like beautiful. It's like, no, back then it was like if you're out in nature, like it's in the
death.
That's scary. That leads to like death and loss. But also again, it's a very complicated relationship with it, where it's like it is that, but it's also like there's much more going on in there's life and rebirth and whatever.
In some interpretations, Sir Gawain in the Green Knight, it's green is representative of like the devil's domain or something. So as he goes further into the green lands, he's going further into the devil's domain or whatever. So I mean, in this case, it's like a mix of that and a mix of like danger and also a mix of fertility. Like it seems to kind of go into all of that.
It's like the two aspects of it. Like there's the male version of it, and then there's like the mother nature aspect of it on the other side too. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of this is just our interpretations, too. So like if you have your own versions of what you think the Green Man represents in this story, or of the female being on the other side, let us know, because honestly I'm very curious, because this is something I do like about all of his films so far, is they do offer. There's always room. This one I say does have the least room, I think, but it does offer room.
I don't
for
know.
like,
I feel like
you
it
know,
might have more
versions.
room, like and like down the line. Or when we talked about it, because like there was recent comments from Alex Garland that like it's something personal happened to him, like grief and tragedy struck to him, and this is his like art house therapy kind of thing, or he was hinting at that. And then also like from the actors who were saying, which we get into other themes besides like fertility and stuff, like the exploration of grief and trauma in different ways. And you know, and I'll get into Roy Kinnear has a very interesting perspective on this. Like, and I'm assuming he had conversations with, you know, Alex Garland that probably informed his opinions on this.
Sure, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and the Sheila. Okay, and the Sheila and the Gig, the vulva picture thing.
Oh,
yeah, which is also very striking. Like it's like a weird creature that has like a huge vulva and like is spreading it apart. I was seeing that. I was like,
yeah, say vulva again.
Yeah, I know, vulva. Let me give you vulva. 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 Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely be taken off YouTube now.
Yeah. Well, no, only when it's the first minute. It's a weird algorithm thing.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, they're gonna say vulva if you want to.
Yeah. It's usually found throughout Europe on cathedrals and castles and stuff like that. And then, you know, Jessie Buckley was talking about like, after she read the script, she was like, "Oh, I see the Sheila and the Gig everywhere." Like,
interesting.
And sometimes it's used as a ward against evil spirits, and sometimes it's used as symbols as part of birthing rituals, which is, you know, very important in this film. Or used as fertility symbols. It's like the mix of both like is interesting. Like
two sides of the same coin, you know.
Yeah, and both dealing with fertility in some ways or something like that.
Yeah, it's just like a balance of the universe. Because I think, yeah, again, like if we are saying like, you know, the green can represent death and rebirth, and then like the Sheena the Gig represents like, you know, fertility and. So yeah, it's just kind of like
the homeless man literally being like, his face was like reminiscent of the Green Man.
Yeah,
and he literally had a vulva, like giving birth to himself.
Yeah, giving birth to all the different versions of himself again and again and again and again. I gotta lie. By the third one, I was like, okay, how long is this gonna be going for?
He's just like, it's gonna be uncomfortable. You're gonna fucking deal with it. I'm going through some shit in my life. You have to see it. It's like Darren Aronofsky and the mother. He's like, I hate the world right now. I hate fucking climate change. So you're fucking gonna see.
Like again, like speaking about like the other kinds of symbolism and everything, like the odd places where the new characters were being birthed out of, like at least in the male versions, reminds me a bit of like in Greek mythology, like there are a few different really strange births where basically a character is born out of places that they shouldn't be. I forget which Greek god it is that comes out of like, I think Zeus's like armpit or something. I forget the exact story, but like it comes out of his armpit. And then there's one where like you know, I think it's Dionysus or something, but like basically like he accidentally kills his mom, so then like he grabs a baby like before it can die, and he sews it onto his calf, and he's born through his calf. It's like so there's a lot of strange instances of like males giving birth in like Greek mythology, but it's never like, you know, the right way. It's never like, and then Zeus like just gave birth like normal. No, it's like there's kind of like strange instances of like, it's just not.
Athena came out of the thoughts.
Athena came out of his head because she was in his thing like that. So it's like there's a lot of instances like that, and then like there's other slight hints like where when she's out and she's looking at the Milky Way. And the Milky Way gets its namesake from named after Hera's breast milk. Yeah, and everything else. It's like, okay,
but she literally looks up in the sky.
And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't know if that's exactly what he's trying to say, or even exactly what he is trying to say with that. It's just like just showing it, and it's like, like that's just what's the images that pop into my mind and the thoughts that come to me. So,
or like the canal basically being like the vagina and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't get that when I first watched it.
Yeah, the vagina or just like, or any type of like little like hole and stuff, and then like her, like them communicating and stuff. Like, and that's another thing. Like, you know how like
and then a dude shows up and makes it weird, and then
and the dude comes out and he comes out of the canal, and also, you know, just like even with the like, you know how like with ultrasounds, or like you're trying to feel the kick of like, and then it's like basically like I know with like certain motherhood books is like them it's like, some people go crazy with this, but like they say like it's like them communicating with their pregnant kid like before birth or whatever, or it's like they see that as a form of communication, like the kicking or whatever. But I'm like,
okay.
but I'm like, it's just the baby fucking kicking, whatever.
I mean,
but I could see like, that kind of being like a little like nod to that, like her going which by the way was very effective. The like
Yeah.
that scene. It's cool. I mean, there's like definitely was a lot. Like everything was very carefully planned. Oh, and then the fucking apples, which is my least favorite part. I think because I was like, for someone who's so creative with a lot of other different things he was doing,
yeah.
I was like, that's kind of lazy. I mean, I get it. He's trying to say something about that too. Also with what's it called? Kind of putting like his own probably critique on the Adam and Eve storyline. It's like, so why is it that Eve gets the brunt of the criticism? And stuff like
Congratulations,
that.
Eve. Now you have to experience birth, the pain of birth for the rest of eternity.
And thematically, it does tie into like his critique of like the male critique of women, or the male gaze of women, or how their relationship with each other.
Yeah.
But once again, I still felt like it was still. I still felt like it was. I mean, it worked in that sense, but and it set up the image of the apples falling down, which is very effective.
Yeah, it was
really
cool.
well. But once again, I felt like that's been done. That one imagery or symbolism is just like, bro. I'm like, you were so creative. You brought us Dredd. I know we're gonna talk about Dredd again, but I'm just like, and you can't do anything else, but whatever. And he can do, but yeah, that was like pretty annoying for me. And the dandelions, right?
Oh yeah, like
his sperm.
Yeah, exactly. It's
coming.
a seed.
Yeah,
he literally just blows in her face, and she wasn't expecting it, so she winces and closes her eyes. It happens.
Yeah, and it comes in, and of course, this is when all the drastic things happen. And the screaming Harper faces. Like I forgot. Like I found the painting. I think I sent you a picture of it.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. It's like the little different things and stuff like that, and then the different faces that's like contorting and stuff. Like I'm kind of curious. Like this is why I'm like, I feel like it's hard for me to make like a snap judgment on this film yet, because I feel like there's a lot that like basically we are not covering, or like it probably will be revealed around time or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it's the it's a film that really demands that you like think about it, and it just kind of sticks with you. If anything, it feels like you're haunted.
Or we might just be completely wrong. It's just like, it's just it's exactly what we thought. But
it's what I appreciate. But knowing
Alex Garland,
yeah.
But knowing Alex Garland and just he's so hyper specific, even with like, I mean, some people say the bad visual effects, like with the kid.
Yeah, the kid was particularly bad.
Yeah,
like,
but like this guy, this guy made an Ex Machina and with like so seamless visual effects.
Yes, that probably not his fault.
yeah, but I feel like in this one was like, it somehow worked for me, like the visual effects, because like I said, it's like for me, bad visual effects is when it detracts from your immersion of the story or from what the creator's trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, in a weird way, I think like somehow added to like the more surrealistic or like kind of unsettling atmosphere of the film. Like just seeing that weird like fucking like Roy Kinnear like CGI imposed face.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little there. I think it did take me out of it.
But
like when his face showed up.
I think it was because it's like it was supposed to be unsettling and weird, and just something was off. Because you see her reaction to it, she's like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
I know, but I feel like it still would have been unsettling or strange, like if it had looked more, I guess, realistic. Just to see like an aged down, like child kind of version of him would have still been weird. But I think it's because of all of those factors that it's aged down. His face is imposed on like someone else's body. It's like it that uncanny valley has like it's a lot wider.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's harder to fill it up. So like I get that part of it. Like it's probably hard to pull off on a technical level. And I think he's capable of it, as we've seen in his other work.
Yeah, and he probably just looked at it and he was like, "Oh, that works."
Maybe,
and I think it does.
But
like,
I don't know,
because I think like if it was bad visual effects, he wouldn't let it through. Like I've seen devs, and that was like he's never had like visual effects were never his problem in any of his films.
Well, I'll say
so
that
for somebody who's like so particular, I felt maybe it's like a little bit unfair compared to others.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I think one reason I wanted to let it slide is because one, his history, his track record, the visual effects to enhance the story to create a certain effect. But in this one too, I felt like it worked for like the surrealistic abstract nature of it and stuff.
Didn't quite work for me.
Yeah,
I think
that's understandable.
it took me out of it. Yeah,
Like
but
I saw that, I was like, that's
it wasn't like a deal breaker or anything. It was just like, I feel like that could have been better.
I don't know if it's really hard, like
Yeah.
you know, imposing, because like also with the but yeah, it's like unless like I'm curious what they did. I'm curious if like they did deepfake and then also like you know deepfake Rory Kinnear's face on his, and also like did like visual touch up some shit.
Yeah, it seems like they did like a few different things.
I don't think it was deepfake though, because I think it's like that one, like you could kind of tell because like the shadows would be off or weird. Like it's different from like in a weird way, like even though technically the Luke Skywalker in Mandalorian is like technically better, but season 2 was off. They improved it for fucking the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the Mandalorian, it was not good, but even that was a little bit better than I think.
No, it was better because it has like what's it called? But that one's actually trying to like be as realistic
seamless as possible.
But this one is like no, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was, I mean, there's a fucking like Hera's breast milk Milky Way in the middle of the fucking.
To be fair, you don't know for sure whether.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wish I could call Alex Garland up on the phone and just be like, "Is this what's your intent?" But for me, I think it did work. And then just based off his track record and analysis of his visual effects, I felt like it was intentional. And for me, it did work, like adding to the abstract, the surrealistic nature. Like also even the visual effects of them giving birth.
Yeah,
like,
that looked like it's just.
Well, even the rendering of that technically had like that the silky like it's technical, like on a technical level, like it has like a silky like almost plastic quality to the rendering of like the skin and stuff. But it, once again, for me, I think it worked because it wasn't. I don't think it's meant to look like. I mean, it's not realistic. A guy giving birth himself.
Well, I think, like I said before, that's how I was watching it. And I was like, oh man, they're just cutting back to that's another extreme close up. Oh god. It's like it reminds me of like those videos you watch in like high school or whatever, where they're like, you're gonna watch a woman giving birth in like the most uncomfortable way possible. It's like, 70s health class videos, and it was just like that, but again and again and again. And I was like, oh fuck. But again, very effective, and I think it's like it's good to remember, birth is beautiful, but it's also kind of gross.
Yeah, horrifying stuff. Yeah,
it's a little horrifying. And
dude, badass Rory Kinnear, who I heard like he almost got hypothermia and stuff from all the blood and stuff.
She's constantly naked outside and covered in goo.
And he just, but then apparently Rory Kinnear was just like, let's just go again. Let's do another take.
Yeah, what a professional. Again, I mean, he does a great job in this. Like he plays like 5 different characters and like does a good job of like distinguishing all of them, which is cool. Which we haven't really even talked about the fact that they all look the same. I know we did like a little bit, but they don't bother explaining it at all or really addressing it.
Once they hence they add to the abstract realistic nature of this whole thing.
Yeah. So do you think that that's what she saw, or was that more for like the audience's effect?
I think what's it called? I think probably a mix of both, right? Yeah. I think it's I mean, obviously, like the audience effect is that's guaranteed.
Yeah, it's definitely just like but I'm saying like in the story.
I think in the story, like probably that is probably what she saw, and the only like at least for me, like the only reason why James Marlowe, is the one guy that looks different is because she has a personal history and knows him intimately, right? That's why his face actually morphs into what that is. But in her perspective, like all men, in her perspective, like all men. Like
we're the same.
Yeah, we're the same. Or either like they're just like representative of each other, right?
Yeah.
And then so like it regardless of like what their actual differences are, is like no matter to her, right? Because and once again, let's talk about the other themes where so like Jessie Buckley and Rory Kinnear, and Alex Garland is pretty tight-lipped about like this entire thing.
Yeah,
he's like, oh, you guys think it's about toxic masculinity? He was okay. Like that was just like, dude, he has interviews. Like I laughed. He has
the Lynchian effect where he's just like he's not gonna say what it is about like straight up, which I totally respect.
Yeah,
that's great. Whenever you put a film out there and people have questioned its meaning and everything else, like then I think you've done a pretty good job. If at least that's what you're going for, and if they start coming up with their own interpretations of it, I think it's best usually to just not break that and try to like insert your direct intention in there, because I think that definitely
takes away from it.
Yeah.
And that's what Stanley Kubrick tried to do in 2001, but there's accidental leaked audio tapes of like what he thinks the films
that's
are.
too bad. Yeah.
Uh,
Would you like just the Lynch effect? Would you like to elaborate? Nope.
but I'll like with and it's interesting. But I mean, the one thing he did reveal is that like it's very personal. It's a bit of a like something he was like potentially going through something and he released this out into the world and he's just excited for people to see it.
Interesting.
And so that part of like something personal, something happened, and this is like a form of therapy, like kind of did like change my viewing of this film just on a second viewing a little bit, where I'm just like, okay, so like what could this possibly say about his life and stuff like that, right? I mean, obviously he's not a woman, right? So maybe somebody close to him had experience like this.
It's I mean, it's entirely possible. I mean, it's like, again, it's dealing with a lot of that, like the grief and the guilt, everything else.
Oh, by the way, if you guys hear that, that's us. Like our dog's like he's depressed because we're talking about men. He's like, Jesus, shut the fuck up about art house films. It's like my dog Casper. I was. You guys probably can't even hear this because our sure mics are. I can only hear our thing. That's it called. Oh, no, let's just continue.
Okay, all
right. That's it called. So yeah, I mean, like definitely like for Jesse Buckley and Rory Kinnear is like, as they said, after conversations with the director and the script and stuff like that, for them it's less about toxic masculinity and just about how somebody in an abstract way deals with comes to term with their own grief and trauma, right? And how like mentally we project our trauma in different ways.
Oh,
yeah,
very interesting.
And with that perspective, I'm like, okay, so that's a whole different spin on it, which I loved about this film, right? It's like on a surface level, we could think like it's all toxic, and I do think that obviously he is talking about toxic masculinity in some way.
Yeah, you think?
But then in that perspective, right? Like maybe,
boo.
but like like she's like, I think Jesse was like, in her perspective, right? Her trauma, like men was that source of trauma, right?
Yeah,
not necessarily all men are like toxic or anything like that, but the way she's processing it is through this village and how she sees the other guys and and that's why I think your interpretation of like how each represents a different part of James. Yeah, it's probably like a fair thing to say. Yeah, and then she was also talking about and then also like one thing I came about was like emotional traps or physical traps. Like there was a lot of traps for like emotionally trapped because either suicide or like the grief that he emotionally imposed on her, or literally the physical trappings of the house. Yeah,
he's just like, if I die, it's your fault. And it's like, what a dick. what an asshole. Yeah, just literally just mentally and emotionally just trapping her, just giving her no good way out of it at all. And it's just like, you can't do that.
And then also like some people see like back to the fertility thing. Like some people think like fertility is a way that a man traps a woman into like a life of connection with him.
I mean, that's people have like
some people
about that as a lot. Yeah, as in terms of fertility, as trapping other people, as in like
especially if it's rape.
Absolutely. But like on both sides, like basically of like a man trapping a woman, being like, oh, now you're pregnant, you're linked to that person for like the rest of your life, unless you do something else.
Yeah, by trapping her, by trapping, or not even trap. Well, it's like not saying not all, right? But I'm saying in the context of this film, trapping, like the man is trapping the woman in the role of a motherhood.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And then you see that constantly throughout with the dandelions and the birth and asking for love or whatever, right? Yeah. And even at the end, the friend is pregnant. Yeah. Right.
But then I feel like she smiles at her at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like an instance where you hope and you expect, I guess, that like it was probably on her own volition that she decided she wanted to have a baby. Yeah. And it's not something that was like forced upon her, and just shows that like it's not.
Or was she smiling because of that, or was she smiling because she feels like she has overcome her grief and trauma?
I mean, I think that the too, excellence possibly. I think it's a mix of those things, right? Because I think she definitely has overcome it by the end. Like it's interesting because it leaves it open to like how exactly does she confront James at the end there? Like, because he's basically like just tells her, this is what I want from you, and she's denied him that throughout the film. And for good reason. Like she's like, no.
Do you think one of the things they argued about is whether or not they want to have kids?
It's very possible.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very possible. She could have just been like, no, I don't. And then he said, well, like that's
a deal breaker.
And then because there are people who think that you owe them that or something. And it's like, that's not true
That's
at
not
all.
true, exactly. Especially for women. I mean, for like, especially I don't know why when dudes are like, yeah, like you deserve you should give me a kid. You have to. I'm like, you're not giving birth. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
you don't understand what you're demanding.
Yeah,
like
I know.
what you're asking for, but you're demanding.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like,
demanding.
No, that's on both sides have to really want that, and it's like again, it's a deal breaker. Like because there's women who want to have kids and the man doesn't. And it's like that. Just like, you guys shouldn't be together then. And I think
Yeah.
that's essentially, it's possible that's what she was going for, along with I'm assuming some intense emotional baggage that he was putting on her as well.
Yeah.
So she was like, rightfully for herself, like I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And then he's like, well, too bad. He's like,
Yeah.
that you're
You're
not
gonna take the
leaving.
role of motherhood and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And it's like, no, that's not what you want out of a relationship.
God, it would be really sad if we find out later that it was like a cousin that committed suicide because she didn't want to have kids or some shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then that would definitely be like, oh, okay, damn, Alex.
Damn.
I say this is a very interesting. This is a very interesting part of his filmography. Like it's even with Devs though, I think like, oh gosh, we got to watch Devs sometime. That one's interesting because that's all about free will and determinism.
Yeah.
About a woman who has access to or with a company that has access to a certain software that could perfectly analyze every parts of your past, but also perfectly allow you to visualize your future with like almost 100% accuracy.
Interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then that one also had what's his name? He played Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec.
Oh, got it. Oh, his name is. Oh, I was gonna say Scott Ackerman. No, it's not Scott
No,
Ackerman.
yeah, he was. Oh god, he was fucking great in that movie, in that series too. So this is like definitely his. Even I did that one. He was already pushing the surrealism.
Nick Offerman. Sorry.
Nick Offerman. Yeah, like he was already pushing the surrealism in that show, and then this one, I'm just like, okay,
Yeah,
like
I mean, Ex Machina is like last like 20 minutes or so. Really was like pushing those boundaries, like into like that surrealist sci-fi stuff, which is really great. And that's like, I don't know, personally, like probably one of my favorite parts of the whole film.
Yeah,
and what he's done so far. And I feel like this one in this case was like, oh yeah, well you haven't seen nothing yet. Like,
yeah,
he's really gonna push the boundaries.
I'm curious. I hope. Yeah, I do hope. I mean, what's it called? It's gonna be interesting. I mean, like, I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious what his next films are. And it's hard for me to say like I don't want his films to be so thematically talky, but I'm okay with thematic riches. I know, but he always
It's like,
but it's like it's gonna be interesting. I'll say this, like it's like I definitely love his filmography. I love his visual. I love where his career is going. I actually love the fact that this movie came out. Whether I say this is my favorite, it's not. Annihilation. Who knows? It might like in 10 years time from now, it might age differently.
Yeah. It's like I think. It's just that's a sign of a good filmmaker is like the fact that like their films just stick with you. They make you like they stick in your mind, and you will want to revisit them eventually, and want to like reanalyze your feelings towards them and everything. That's a great sign. If you watch a film once and you're just like fuck that, I don't know, never again. But
some people will say that about this film.
Oh yeah, no,
friends
for sure.
Without naming them,
it's easily
like, fuck that.
Yeah, easily this is his most divisive film or anything else. But like I love that like he mentioned before talking about sci-fi because his two previous films were very sci-fi. That it's a genre that like basically it can ask a lot of questions and have a lot more like up to interpretation and whatever. And in this side, he decided to go. This is definitely his most just direct kind of horror. In terms of like this is like really a low key horror film more than anything else. Not even like very low key, but but it's like it's his horror, and horror is a very similar genre where they can ask a lot of different kinds of questions. And
elevated horror.
Yeah. Forget to say. Let's not forget. This is not just regular horror. This is elevated
horror.
So I'm love to I love to see filmmakers do that and expand that into like different genres because horror's always had that too, where it talks about like it has commentary and it can basically like ask a lot of questions and push a lot of there's different ideas to explore. So I love to see that. So I don't know. I'm ready to get into ratings if you are.
Last brief shout outs to his technical team. I give mad props to Rob Hardy who did the cinematography for Ex Machina, Annihilation, and Mission Impossible Fallout, and those miniseries, which I was like, okay, I could see that too. The bloom, he tends to have the bloom, but this one had the least amount of bloom effect in his lighting. There's a little bit there. The music is by Salisbury and Jeff Barrow, who did all the music for everything, everything Alice Garland.
All the music has been fantastic throughout. Phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, and Jake Roberts, who started working him on the Devs miniseries, and I think at least in the editing thing, I think he did pretty seamless in this one. And he also did Hell or High Water and stuff like that.
Fantastic. Watch that.
Yeah, A24. Yeah, good year so far. I mean, for me. I mean, who knows? Maybe other people are like, "Fuck this," and they hate everything ever. Actually, I doubt that they hate everything ever all at once.
I know 2 people who
Really?
did not like it. One person said that it was just like it was basically like a Marvel film, and I was like, "What?
Whoa,
no way."
that's so stupid. That's a really bad fucking take. Oh, that's really, gosh, you smooth brain little fuck. If you're listening to this, you're fucking wrong. That's really bad.
Damn.
I'm okay if you don't like it, but like that's a really stupid fucking opinion. Like I said, that's really stupid.
Hey, we're open to all opinions here.
Oh yeah, we're open to it, but I'm also open to criticize this fucking terrible opinion. Oh gosh, see, I was sick.
That one really struck a chord.
I was sick this morning. I was sick yesterday, and you could tell my little low energy, but somehow that energized me. You should have said that in the beginning. I would have been like hyped up the entire fucking review. Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, so I think and this movie's another one. It's a mixed bag. But again, I prefer a film that is a little more divisive and that can shake things up a bit than just like whatever. Yeah, I saw it. Whatever. So I'm happy that this again, A24 still doing a great job. Good job so far in 2022. I can't wait to see what you guys come out next, and I can't wait to see what Alex Garland has to come out next, because I'm I want to check out Devs now for real. Like I want to do it before, but now I really do.
yeah, it was interesting. God, that came in the pandemic, right?
Yeah, that sounds like, yeah.
Okay, so final ratings. This was hard. Oh, not final. I'll say this: our ratings as of this episode.
Yeah,
it's bound to change.
It's the final rating ever that anyone will ever give, right here.
Yeah. Are you ready to give it? You ready to give it? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna say premium streaming.
Yeah.
It's like I really enjoyed it. Not sure when I'm gonna revisit it, but I do feel like I do want to at some point. But yeah, as of right now, I'll give it a premium streaming.
It's weird. My opinions went from like bargain bin all the way to on the shelf.
Oh, really?
I'm like, it's literally every moment I think about it, it changes.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm like, wow, this part's great, but the Apple thing's stupid as fuck. Or not stupid as fuck. It's just like, it's not stupid. It's just fucking lazy. And you guys know me, if you guys listen to this, I hate fucking lazy, uncreative fucking aspects of filmmaking. And that was I thought that he could have done better with that.
Yeah.
But it's weird, and I was like praising it, I was defending it, but I'm actually giving a lower rating than Ron, streaming with ads. But it might be like in the museum in a couple years. You never know. Right now, as I'm talking about it, it's streaming with ads, but literally within the hour, it might be like on the shelf.
Gotcha.
Just
felt like we need a little energy there.
yeah.
A little something. Hey. Okay. All right. Okay, guys. Thanks for listening to Half a Clue Movie Review. This is one of our longer reviews in a while, I think. But I think there's a lot to talk about here, which is great. If you enjoyed this discussion and you want to hear future discussions about films and TV shows, please like and subscribe. We appreciate every single time you guys do that. It really means a lot. It helps us grow and helps create a little sense of validation every time we see it.
Yeah, like one subscriber and stuff like that.
So it's always appreciated, guys. We love you.
Yeah. What's it called? See you guys.
Yeah.
Let's go put on the men thing again.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. One more time.
Yeah.
Today's discussion, we were talking about
man.
Bye, you guys.
All right, guys. Bye.
Yeah, man. Here we go, baby.